All right, y'all. So today we are going to be recapping the video lab on YouTube production panels. I'm excited to be here with Dan Parker in San Diego, Lindsey Vance out of South Carolina, and Enrique Trey Serrano out of San Antonio. So what's going on, y'all?
What's up?
What's cracking?
All right. So what I want to do is talk about your production process for YouTube. And the first thing that I'd like to kind of talk about, I've got 4 topics. One would be topics, one would be shooting, one would be editing, and one would be posting. So starting out with topics, how do y'all come up with topic ideas?
Start with Lindsey.
All right, Lindsey, you go first.
Okay. I do a couple different ways. I mean, I really just try to like consume, like when I'm on social media, I just try to consume what's on there, whether it's usually Facebook is more helpful. I'll go into some local groups and just see what people have been talking about. And most importantly, in the comment section is even more valuable than the actual post itself. I've done a post myself like that in a local group and got responses and built a video off of that, of like things people wish they knew before they moved to the area. I've also used Answer the Public and just to see what's being searched for. I use Google as just a basic, like I will type something into Google, I will scroll down, and where it says others might be asking or other suggestions, and kind of just like it kind of pigeonholes from there. That's primarily how I look.
So outside of the like things you wish you would have known before you moved here, are there any other types of things that you post to determine like good topics and stuff like that?
Oh wait.
I don't know. Not necessarily.
Trey or Dan, have y'all had any good topics in like Facebook groups or things like that?
Go for it, Dan. Okay, I'll go. So honestly, what I do is I just listen to my clients. Like, luckily, I grew an audience that, you know, we do help a lot of people that are moving from out of state. So I write down literally what they ask about, like, what did you research? And, you know, through the process, and then I'll also read the YouTube comments, and that's how I get my video ideas. If there's the same comments over and over and over, then I'm like, okay, that's a video idea.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great point for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been doing this for a little while, and one thing I'd recommend is first take a step back before you think of what specific videos are you going to make. Take a step back and think of what are like the pillars of content that you're going to make. What are the types of videos that you're going to make? And that helps you to like really get some clarity on what are the specific videos to start to come up with. And basically for me, it's like living in San Diego real estate, and what's coming soon to San Diego. And so like the coming soon and the real estate stuff, just look for headlines. Like, what are your local publications? What are the things that are coming soon in your area? What are the new developments? And then what are like the main real estate headlines that you're seeing as well? So those are a really good place to start, because those are the things that are on people's minds. And then the living in videos, the pros and cons, all that stuff. You can do what Trey said and listen to like what people are saying on whatever social platform in your content. Like, what questions are they asking? What are your clients asking? I have a whole new series that's just about answering questions for people that comment on my channel, and that has been performing really, really well. So yeah, start with your pillars and then just obsess over being the person that has the information. So the more you consume, the better it is and easier it is for you to come up with ideas.
Yeah, I think that the point of diving into the comments on your channel, like they're already there. You've already almost like converted them, and they're going to come back, and you're hearing from the people that like already like you. So I think it's really valuable.
For sure. So y'all use local groups on Facebook, Answer the Public, comments on your social media, on your YouTube page, actually talking to your clients, novel concept, and getting ideas from them, and then organizing your ideas into different content buckets. How do you keep them all organized other than just having them in buckets?
Lindsey's the most organized on here. So why don't you tell us all?
organized chaos. So there are different ways that you can store it, and depending on how your brain works, I use Trello. I use the free version. I use everything free until I can't anymore. So I just use the basics. And I know a lot of the times people say, oh, I'll jot a note in my phone. That's great, but there's also an extra step for me to take that note from my phone and put it into something that's going to like streamline my production process. So I skip that extra step and I go straight to Trello. It's an app on the phone. It's also a desktop version, but that way I'm able to keep an ongoing list of ideas, and I actually have them color coded to my 4 categories. So like if I can look at it, I visually know like how many of each that I have going. And as it progresses with the script and actual production, it kind of moves along this little timeline.
And while I'm getting your stuff pulled up here real quick, what are your different buckets?
Or like pillars. So I'll keep it offline for why we don't call it buckets. That's thanks to Bob Tompkins. It's not appropriate for this call. But we call them pillars. But we have 4 of them primarily because there's typically 4 weeks of the year. And so it kind of gives us time to like touch base on each week. But we have there on your left, you can see our categories, neighborhood or area. It can be like this versus this, or 3 neighborhoods with this, different things like that. Pros and cons. People love controversy. They love that, you know, what are they going to say as cons? And then top 5, top 3, some sort of like numbered type category that's still relating to living in South Carolina. And then wild card. Wild card allows us both to tap into our niche a little bit. I've got a lot of equestrian clients and horse people, so I can kind of dive into my niche that way and use a wild card.
Wild card. Awesome. Let's dig into planning out the actual videos. Like you guys have the topics, you have them written down somewhere, right? So whether it's a Trello board, note on your phone, on the back of your hand, wherever it may be, right? How do y'all plan out, maybe Trey, how do you plan out and script out your videos?
So I use Evernote, where I have the video idea, I have the kind of the biggest value proposition of watching the video, and that's how I start formulating the entire video. So I start with like, okay, this is what people are gonna like. San Antonio is on the rise, good or bad. So that's the meat of the video. And then my thoughts, whether it is going to be good or bad, is going to be the end of the video because I want them to stay to watch that. And then I get on Evernote, and then I do bullet points. So like I'll say the first 3 things I'm going to briefly just mention in the first 30 seconds are going to be this. And then I'm going to bring in this and this before something juicy comes up in the video that they're going to want to know. And that'll be like the next timeline of the video. And then some more information, maybe like a quick local stat. And then I get to what people were waiting for at the end. But I stopped doing the, hey, you're going to want to stay and watch to the end stuff, or like comment below and tell me this, that, and this, because your audience is sophisticated. Like they fucking know that for more comments, you're trying to get more business, right? So like, stop doing that. I would just say, do you think it's good or bad? So on this next topic, and it's like the subtleness really gets people like, well, he didn't tell me to comment. I'm gonna fucking comment. I'm gonna show him and whatever. So I feel like the videos that I do that, I've seen much more engagement.
You're reverse psychologying them, right?
Yep.
Like, actually, I don't want you to comment, but
I would agree, because I actually did that as just a brief experiment in one of my videos. In the very middle of it, I tried like a call to conversation and just like, have you done this? Like, drop in the comments. Let's talk about it. All right, let's get back into the video. It wasn't even 5 seconds long. And I watched my watch time go in that little segment, and I'll never did it again after that. And same comes with like intros, outros, call to action. People get that sense of like, sometimes they hear it and they might think it's the end of the video and they're going to drop off.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also one of those things that like people are going to YouTube for the information. And so when they feel like they're being sold, they're like, over it, bye, and move on to the next one or move on to the next video. All right. As far as shooting, let's keep this moving. So shooting. I know you all do different things as far as shooting. So Dan, let's start with you. You know, do you shoot by yourself or with a videographer? In studio, green screen, on location? Tell me a little bit about your process for shooting.
Yeah, so my kind of overall strategy is a majority of my videos are just going to be right here. And the main reason is because my camera's already in place. I turn that on. I can film a video, have it to my editor in like 30 minutes flat. If I spend a day with a videographer, which I do once a month because I feel like it elevates the channel, it elevates the product that I'm putting out, that's a good 3 to 4 hours out of my day for 1, maybe 2 videos. So just the like the value that I'm getting out of the time that I'm putting in, it just makes a lot more sense to do most of my videos right here.
For sure. Trey, I know you do a little bit of combo of both. So tell us a little bit about your shooting.
So the shooting, I mean, lately I've just been doing one video at a time here. And, you know, for you YouTube Trey Serrano fans, this is the backdrop that I use on my YouTube videos. I used to use a green screen and stuff, but I figured kind of sitting on the couch in this office type environment is so much more relaxed and it seems less pitchy. So just recording yourself in whatever comfortable environment that you normally are in, or a studio like Dan or Lindsey. And I think that for me, one video at a time where I can really dedicate to all the details has been the most successful. So I record my screen as I have the articles that I talk about, and then I sit on the couch and then the camera's there, lighting. And then as I go through it, I kind of read the screen, I look at the camera, I say the line or 2 or 3, and then I stop and I look at the screen and then I say the line or 2. And then as I'm toggling, they're screen recording my laptop, and then that's how the edits are made easier.
So that's one thing that I really like, screen recording. If you're going through an article or you're showing something on the map or you're doing some sort of search, right? Screen recording your screen as you're talking so that it's synced up, because I've not done that before and I've done the video and then I'm like, oh, well, now I have to go back and screen record my screen and try to keep it in the same, you know, time frame and move it to where it needs to be to match what I was saying in the video. And that's difficult, right? So doing it on the front end is really helpful. And when you said camera, is your videographer videoing you or are you just doing it all yourself?
Yeah, JP is videoing me and doing everything.
For sure. Cool. All right. And then now we've got Lindsey, who has probably the most in-depth process. So we'll end with you as far as shooting. So how do you shoot, Lindsey?
So I just overanalyze, and I could never sit down at my desk. Like, it might look like a video background, but I like to film on site when I can. Of course, weather permitting is always an issue. I live in South Carolina. It's like deathly hot, or it could be raining. But it takes away a couple of things for me because I have a videographer that films it, and that takes my like doubt out of it. And if I'm paying for that, it doesn't matter if I've rewatched that video and I've had a bad hair day, or I feel like I don't look good or sound good. It doesn't matter. I've already paid for that. Like, I'm not going to trash that. I'm going to publish it. So it kind of makes me work a little harder at that. And when I'm on scene, there's a little bit less effort in the editing because there's always something going on around me. I can be walking on the sidewalk, I can be sitting on a bench, I could be in front of the business I'm talking about and stuff like that. So I just like it, and I end up talking with people while I'm out on site. Like, they'll scan my little digital card, they'll be like, "Who are you? What are you doing?" And so I like doing that. I show up with my content, film, go home, and I get my finished piece. I do similar like Trey, maybe Dan does as well, where, you know, don't feel like you've got to have this whole long on camera, like film a couple lines, pause it, restart. I do write out a full script, and there's a couple reasons why. I don't read a teleprompter, I never have. But the reason why I write my script is retention as I study it and read it over. But I also, like, if I'm doing voiceover, and I can quickly look at it, do a voiceover. It's already kind of in my own voice as I typed it out. But most importantly, I can repurpose that script so many different ways. If I'm doing a similar video next time, I can go back and say, oh my gosh, I did a video on that. Let me see. And it cuts my research time in half, if not more, by going back and copy and pasting or pulling certain bullet points or research points that I've done on a video before. And then also repurposing that for other platforms. If I'm releasing a video of, top 5 reasons to move to South Carolina, essentially that's 5 different posts for social media, shorts, reels, blog posts. Like there are so many different ways. And it's just helps me, it cuts my time in half for a lot of different things.
So you shoot on location. So I would assume that your videographer's capturing B-roll while you guys are out. You're already there, you're talking, yeah. And then once he's done shooting with you, he'll get some additional shots. That's
for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Trey and Dan, for, since a lot of your stuff is done in studio, what are y'all doing for B-roll?
So my editor has access to I'm not sure what site he uses, but he's able to get some B-roll online for generic stuff. But also a big part of the reason why I meet with a videographer once a month is because now I have this huge catalog of B-roll from around San Diego County. So that's another big reason as to why I'm spending once a month with my videographer. So yeah, I encourage my editor to use as much of our personal B-roll as possible.
I'll make a point really quick on that because this is something I highly regret. I don't have that. I don't have access to, I will now because I've talked to my videographer about it, but I'm 2 years in and I don't have any of that B-roll I don't own it. I don't have it. I don't have access to it. It almost made me so upset because I saw a portion of B-roll that they took for me and they put it in another agent that's doing videos in my area. And I was like, wait a minute, that's mine, but it really wasn't. So if you're hiring someone, an editor, videographer, make sure you're asking the right questions to own your stuff.
Yeah, because not all videographers will agree to that. So it's definitely something to understand on the front end of what's happening there. Trey, as far as B-roll, I know you guys do a lot of property videos and lifestyle videos out in the field. Is that when you're getting B-roll, or how do you guys capture B-roll?
Yeah, we do it any chance we get. So if we're filming a listing video, then we'll get the neighborhood and drone and whatever cool attractions are around there. And then we basically are building a library for San Antonio. And even when I'm out, I'll get some B-roll of different stuff to just have. But mainly it's when we do, neighborhood tours or listing videos, we'll get that. But I highly recommend anybody that's watching this to while you're showing houses, while you're, out with your family or whatever, so start filming roadways and signs and because I've noticed that the engagement levels are so much better when there's better feedback once there's local B-roll, because people know that it's stock footage. It's too perfect.
Yeah.
I've actually had people comment that's some city in Europe. I'm aware it was a stock footage. Thank you for your input.
Yeah.
I've also done, because even though he tries to get B-roll while we're on site, it doesn't always pertain to what I'm talking about. So every once in a while, if I know there's an event going on in the area or a handful, I say, hey, if you're in the area, there's these events going on, here are the addresses, go get some good B-roll because you're going to get this, we'll be able to use it. So think of that kind of thing too. Or if there's a festival going on, ask him if he can stop by, or if they're planning on attending and doesn't take them long to just grab a few shots.
So you guys have all mentioned videographers and editors. So I know that y'all no longer edit your own videos, or if you do, it's very rare. And that's just for me personally knowing y'all. But I think we always recommend to people to start out at least editing some so that kind of the process, what it looks like. I know Jeremy Knight will cut his down to what he wants as far as timing on the video and then send it off to an editor, add in the B-roll and flashy words and things like that, glamour shots, stuff like that. What advice would y'all give in finding an editor? Right. Because I think that's people have probably the most difficulty in. So whether that's finding your videographer who's also your editor, or the separate of the two? Maybe Dan, if you want to go first, since I know you have separate people for things.
Yeah, absolutely. So videographers are expensive. You know, getting someone local to come out and film for you is not cheap. Here in California, I'm spending, I think, $100 an hour, something like that, like crazy. And in editor, my editor is about half that. And I know that there are significantly cheaper editors out there as well. So we're actually looking into some other editors. We've been using the same guy for a long time. But anyway, all that to say, start with the editor, go to upwork.com, write a job posting. So you're basically putting out a job description for someone that you would like to hire for a recurring position, and go to ChatGPT and have it help you write a job description for someone to help you with edit YouTube videos. You can put in the price point that you want to spend. I think you can get someone very, very good for $100 to $150 a video. And they're probably not going to be located here in America, but they're going to be really good at editing. They might even be able to help you with thumbnails or something else as well. Last time I did this for short form videos, I want to say about 30 people applied for the job. They all sent examples of some videos they've done in the past. They've all given me their prices. And what I've noticed is if you do a job posting, they're going to give you much better prices than if you just seek these people out through the site. So do a job posting, spend the time, go through all the different people, narrow it down to 3 or 4 people, send them all some footage to edit, and see who you like best and who is like the most responsive.
Yep. I would add to that is don't be cheap, because cheap is not always good.
Absolutely.
And the second thing is you should kick it back as many times as you feel comfortable. So I think the problem people see is they're like, oh, you know, the old ways of saying like, oh, we just need to push content. Well, that's not the case anymore, because there's too much competition out there to push out shitty things. So you should really watch it, and not watch it like, how do I look? You should watch it as, okay, if I'm somebody moving to my area, what am I going to say? So that you can give the feedback to the editor and say, well, I feel like it wasn't engaging enough in the beginning, or these 3 seconds, but that information is really good to give back to them, especially when you first start.
And editors will generally have a certain amount of edits that they'll do for you, right? Some it's unlimited, some it's a certain quantity, right? So it's always something to understand before you decide to work with someone exclusively. Other than Upwork, is there any other place that y'all have previously used? I mean, Trey, what do you got?
No, so I did forget to say, a lot of people will just ask their sphere, like, hey, does anybody know an editor, or can I hire a college kid? Like, that's not the way to do it. Do not do that. You should just post it on Upwork, like Dan said, or, a Facebook group where it's like, work from home people or whatever, or even just a full job post on Wise Hire. Like, just stop taking these shortcuts of asking your sphere and start opening it up to potential candidates that you don't know. It's okay. I mean, you can vet. It's better to vet 10 people as opposed to the 1 or 2 person that your friend of a friend knows. And I think that's another big mistake that people do.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did that when I was getting started. I asked my sphere, and what happened was I was getting recommended people that I felt an obligation to work with, even though they suck.
So yeah, and that's why I mentioned it, because you did it
there. Yeah.
I think
he wasn't going to call you out, but now that you said it, Dan, don't be like Dan.
Yep, 100%.
One thing to keep in mind that you should mention to, whether it's the editor or the videographer, is like they're going to look at us as a real estate agent and think we're like trying to be salesy and sell ourselves and try to get clients. Generally we're doing that, but I've said this from the very beginning, and I've told my videographer when he tried to raise the price on me, was I am not selling a product or a service. I am providing information, and I just happen to be a realtor. And that goes with, like, he does a lot of really high production music videos, commercial businesses, and he does amazing work. But I told him, I'm like, I don't need that. I'm not going to get the views that I want. Like, people, I'm just providing information. And there were times where I'd get videos back where, like, I am on camera so much, and I'm like, people don't want to see my face. Like, we've got to have some B-roll. We've got to have some text on screen. So just remember that, like, we're not selling a product or a service. It's not a listing video. We're providing information, and you just happen to be a real estate agent.
I've talked to Bob about this a lot with talking about editors and finding editors. And his thing was is like finding people that know YouTube is a lot better than someone, and Trey just put in the chat, you don't have to hire a real estate videographer, right? Because people that make, you know, cinematic real estate property tours may not be the same person that you want shooting and editing your YouTube videos. So just food for thought there. All right, let's move on to posting and then open up for questions. So posting, let's talk a little bit about titles and thumbnails, repurposing to other platforms. What's y'all's process? I know Ken Pozik's one that he still to this day posts all of his videos. He's like, I could very easily, you know, farm this out, but it's something that he's like, I want to make sure it's done right. And since it's such a large driver of his business, which I know it is for y'all as well, you know, he's doing it himself because he wants to make sure that it's done right the first time and no edits. So Dan, let's start with you on this one. Posting, what's kind of your process?
Yeah. So my biggest focus every week is to get out that 1 to 2 YouTube videos. And so I'm doing the posting, I'm doing the filming, I'm sending it off to the editor, I'm making my own thumbnail, and I'm posting it myself. And then once I have that posted, my admin's doing a lot of other things like sending out our video script to someone to write a blog post, uploading that blog post, uploading the video to Newsbreak and uploading a blog to Newsbreak, creating the Google business post. She's doing a lot of the like easy to repeat things, you know, our weekly email, all that stuff. But the actual video itself, I am posting. And then when I'm getting like the reclips and other content, I'm currently doing that myself, but I've been kind of dropping the ball a little bit. But yeah, usually when I film a video, I'll send off all the footage to my long form editor, and then I'll send off different footage to my short form editor, and then I'll upload those short form videos myself as well. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out a better system for that because it just hasn't been as consistent as I want it to be.
Trey, you just unmuted. What about you?
I did. So I'm lucky. JP does everything for me. So he'll upload it to YouTube, and then we have a pre-written kind of the description part, and then I write the first line or two of the description. But the thumbnails, I mean, he's done a few, but I mainly do them just because I want the thumbnail so important. And it's not for clickbait. It's just to make it click worthy of why somebody should click it. And then I wouldn't write the same thing on your thumbnail than you do on your title. You should make it a little different. Like the next video I'm releasing is San Antonio's on the rise, good or bad. So I'll probably have, you know, something in the thumbnail where it's like a split screen, and you know, just I want something that somebody will see locally and see you know, around the US, just to see like, okay, is this clickable? Is this something that's kind of San Antonio like? And obviously it's pretty consistent.
So here are a few examples.
Mm-hmm. And then you know, the breaking news collapse and all the stuff, it's actually not performing as good as it used to be. I think part is just I think the world is sick of like these rates, and they don't want to hear any more bad news. So I'm actually going to change that a little bit and just make it more conversational with the thumbnails. And that's you know, kind of the next evolution of at least my postings and what I'm doing.
Yeah, I completely agree on the market stuff right now. There's way less activity. At the beginning of the year, there were a lot of headlines about the market's going to collapse.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting a little bit interested in that. And now I think everyone's just so beaten down. They know that it's not going to collapse, and they aren't interested in learning more about it.
Yeah. So now they kind of want to learn hacks instead of, you know, the bad news.
Definitely. Lindsey, as far as posting, since you and Bob share a channel, let's dig in a little bit on your kind of posting schedule and what that looks like.
Yeah, so we commit to 1 video a week. Since there's 2 of us, that means we just switch on and off on whose week it is. We both upload our own videos, make our own thumbnails. What I did to help us out in the beginning was I created in Canva about 5 or 6 like templates we don't use the same templates, but it just sort of set a style of our thumbnails, and we create it from that. Now there's over 60 or 70 in there from the ones we've created over time. But that way we can kind of recreate a similar style. We both do our own thumbnails for the same reason of like, we're just picky about it. We want to make sure it's done right. The thumbnail is your visual hook. The title is what is searchable. So the title needs to be generally what people are searching, like those words. Don't just think you're going to make up a title and that it sounds good. Like, make sure it makes sense based on what people are actually searching. Every once in a while, we have our ops manager, like if we're out of town or something, we'll get the video uploaded or send it over. But otherwise, I mean, 9 times out of 10, we do it ourselves. We commit to getting it out on Sundays so that think of when you watch your favorite TV show, every time it comes out, it's usually the same day of the week. And it helps us just stay consistent with that instead of dropping the ball. It doesn't always happen. Every once in a while, we'll miss a week or have it published later, but that's more important because of the quality. Like, we don't want to if there's an edit that's needed, but it's Sunday, like, I'm going to get that edit done and publish it on Monday. Like, I want that video to be right, because you can't just like, there's difference between YouTube and some people, also your videographer and editor may not know this, but I've had one where Vimeo, I believe, like, you can make update the video, but the link stays the same. It's not like that in YouTube. I can't upload a video and then all of a sudden go back and like delete it and re-upload it, and it's the same thing. So like, once it's out there, it's out there. But yeah, that's what we do between every week we commit, we each do one, on and off, and do our own stuff as far as thumbnails, titles. And because there's 2 of us and the future plans we have for the channel, we are a little unconventional to what you mostly see for thumbnails. We don't have our faces on it. And it's worked out pretty well. So and you can see like our top videos are usually like the controversial type ones, or really informational things. So.
All right. What questions do y'all have? Anyone have questions? Krista, any questions? You're the only one with the video on. So I'll pick on you.
No questions. I've asked everybody on this panel individual questions since Video Blueprint, but I just need the reminders.
For sure. All right. Well, Trey, what advice would you give to someone that's just starting out on their YouTube, what advice would you give to someone that's just starting out on YouTube? Trey.
Everybody's overthinking it. I mean, I can't stress it enough that everybody is overthinking YouTube and that it's this big monster you have to be consistent in, which YouTube doesn't want high production stuff. YouTube wants authentic, genuine, engaging, informational videos. That's it. Like, the production value doesn't matter really. I mean, audio personally to me matters, but it really doesn't in the long run. If people are getting the information, I mean, how many videos of how to do whatever, or you're researching areas, or you just like skip past the boring parts and you just get to the meat. So it's really the information that you should spend the time on, not the production. I mean, an iPhone tour, can get you, buyers and sellers through you just walking around a shopping strip, just explaining, okay, there's a subdivision over here, this is a highway over here, whatever. Then there's no B-roll needed. But it's just because somebody, can just play it while they're driving and just, listen to the audio. So that's a big thing that I hear a lot is like, oh, I don't have this. I don't know what B-roll to put. And just stop it. Just do it. I don't know. Just do it.
Just do it. In the words of Nike.
Nobody's ever said that in a big company before, but I just say, just do it.
Yeah, no, good.
Trademark that, Trey.
Yeah, you should try to trademark that. Dan.
Yes. I think Trey's 100% right there. Don't let these obstacles in your head get in your way. This is just, you know, when it comes to real estate, if you want to be successful, if you want to be successful with YouTube, it's just like anything else. You need to be consistent. And I know that it's very easy to look at someone like Trey or like Lindsey, that they're very good on camera. They've gotten very good videos, and you're judging your first video against their 100th or their 200th or their 1000th. And you know, I remember the day when I stood in front of my camera, like terrified to hit that record button for that first video. But it's just like any form of prospecting. Like you need to be consistent with it. You need it to be a priority. And that's what I did in the beginning, and it's served me well. And I think anyone can do it at this point in time. Don't worry about all the other noise. Don't worry about the fact that there's other agents on YouTube. There's agents all over the place trying to get business in all sorts of different ways, but there's still a lot of opportunity on YouTube. So get started, know who you're talking to, who your audience is. Don't try to appeal to everyone, niche down, and just be super, super consistent.
I think that's very important. Figuring out who your audience is and talking to them, not trying to do, you know, and speak to everyone. Lindsey, we're going to switch it up a little. Question for you.
Oh, wait, I had a good answer.
Okay,
that.
fine. Same question. Go ahead.
I think this is, I talk to a lot of people that want to get started, or they got started and they feel like they're plateauing. Like, I think the number one thing you need to realize when you jump into this is not a short-term game. You are going to be doing this as long as it works for your business, and until this marketing and technology and digital age changes. So we didn't see consistent leads coming in for maybe 4 months. I've seen posts on Facebook in different groups where people are like, I've put up 30 videos and I still don't have a phone call yet. Like, it's not about how much you're putting out there. It's about the actual consistency and commitment. So you find out who your audience is, how much you can commit to with the consistency. It doesn't mean, I've talked to someone last week where they're doing 2 videos a week and they've fallen off like way out of their timeline. And they're like, oh my gosh, I haven't had one. I'm like, that's because you started you're committing to way too much in the beginning. You can always start stretched out, then add more as you get help, hire videographer, editor. But I think people don't realize this is a long-term game. We're always on our phones, on social media. We want instant gratification. We want likes, we want shares, we want DMs and all of that. And it's not how YouTube works. And and people say, oh, well, no one cares what I have to say, or I sound funny, or all of that. But you're going to find your people. If you're boring on camera, who cares? You're going to find the boring people that click with you. Like, if you're goofy, if you curse on camera, if you are whatever, like, you're going to find your people. You have to stick with it. And it is long-term. And it's to a point where I have slacked on my personal social media because of it, because I know this is what's generating my business and what is paying me in the end of the day. So if that means I'm going to put some more time and effort into my YouTube and skip posting on social for the day, I do that. Now, I do also get people that drop into my socials to learn more about me. Once they see my videos, then they drop in. But otherwise, like, you've got to stick it out. And if you're going to do this, it's going to work. You're going to attract your people, but you've got to do it for as long as it takes. And at that point, you get to a level where you're going to hire people and you're going to need help. And that's where you are able to be more committed to getting it out. And you're like, oh, this isn't as stressful because I've got help. So
one thing I would agree with what you're saying, Lindsey. One thing that I really liked about what you said was that, you know, don't start out and say, I'm going to put out a video every single day, or don't start out and I'm going to do 2 videos a week. Maybe do that bi-weekly, maybe do it weekly, right? And then scale up when you have more time to be able to do more, right? And you know, it's a viable business pillar for yourself. I think I know Dan's definitely doing it. I don't know, Lindsey, about you and Bob or Trey, but are y'all utilizing live streaming?
No, but we have plans to, especially since there's 2 of us. It'll make it a little bit easier. And we've kind of dedicated certain topics to our lives. So we're hoping to get that into that probably like Q3-ish. Just depends.
Dan, do you want to talk a little bit about lives?
Yeah, sure. So lives are great. I think it is very, very good to bring someone else on to talk to. It's just so much easier to have a conversation with someone for an hour. But one of the mistakes I made in the beginning was I would bring on my realtor friends from around the country, and I would say, hey, let's do a YouTube live. We'll talk about San Diego, versus Alaska or whatever. And the reality is people don't give a shit. There's maybe 0.2% of your audience wants you to compare those two places, where for my channel, I need to be talking about San Diego. So where I found a more successful strategy is I have Bern McGovern on, who's another YouTube real estate agent here in San Diego. We talk about what's coming soon in the real estate market. I have two different lenders come on, one of them who's my primary lender, and then the other one who has had a channel for 10 years and was a radio show host before that. And so I'm utilizing their different networks that are already people interested in San Diego. And then we have a full hour-long discussion. So now we have both of our audience on my channel, and that's where I've seen the most success. But it's great. It's, when you get to the point where you're spending 45 minutes just answering questions that are coming in live, it's such a fun, it's fun. It's really a lot of fun. And then for the people that are watching, it's not going to be 100% of the people. Not everyone wants to watch an hour of you talking about the real estate market, but the people that come in are your most dedicated fans. And it's maybe a different subset of your audience that wants to be able to, an opportunity to reach out to you without actually picking up the phone or calling or sending an email. They want to have a conversation with you before they actually officially reach out. So yeah, I have a ton of success with that. I'm doing it about every 2 or 3 weeks, just depending on what news is going on. And I'll usually pull a lot of what are the headlines? What's going on in my market? What are things that are coming soon to San Diego? And then of course, the conversation from the people that come in and are watching the YouTube live always has to do with real estate and what areas are best. So usually that's where the conversation heads.
How often are you doing them? Is it on a regular cadence, or is it just kind of as
yeah,
you...
So my overall strategy for YouTube is one fully edited video released on every single Friday, and then either a YouTube live or I call it Answer Your Question series, where I literally spend 6 to 8 minutes. I do one straight record. I have OBS Studio with different screens, and I have a little stream deck so I can move back and forth between the screens. So it keeps it visually engaging without having to get it edited. And I'm just pulling comments and questions from people that have commented on my channel. So all that to say, one edited video a week, and then I try to do either a live or that Answer the Question series once a week as well. But realistically, it's I do each one of those every 3 weeks or something like that.
And how do you advertise the live?
So you can, I'd recommend utilize StreamYard. It's a really, really great service that you can use that basically plugs into YouTube. It also plugs into LinkedIn and Facebook and other social sites as well. So you can go live on all those sites at the same time. And then if someone comments on Facebook or comments on YouTube, it all gets pulled in the same spot, and you can pull their comments up and engage with them live. So through StreamYard, you can set up your live in advance. So usually for me, I try and do 24 hours in advance. I'll create the thumbnail, make the thumbnail, and just think the thumbnail and title, you need to put just as much effort into it for your live as you do any other of your videos. It can't just be Dan's live and it's just a photo of me. You have to have something engaging in there, a reason for people to want to view it. So if you set it up ahead of time, then people will actually see that popping up on their YouTube screen all day long. They'll see, oh, Dan's going live tonight at 4 o'clock, and then they'll know later to log in.
Awesome. Super duper.
Super duper.
What other questions does anyone have? Some people have joined or turned on their cameras. Shannon, thank you for turning on your camera. Joe, Alita, what's going on? But any other questions or things on the YouTube?
So I'll just add, I was going live a lot in January, and then, fell off the wagon. But it's okay. I mean, but I did find more success when the thumbnail and it was scheduled a day in advance and I actually had to do it. And it is better to do that. Also, just a reminder, I wouldn't share any of your YouTube videos in any other social platforms. If you want to do a completely separate piece of content just to say that you're going live and what you're talking about, perfectly okay. But I wouldn't put like links and stuff because, you know, YouTube is very just, they like to be alone in their lane of searchability, and, you know, and that's just really good. So actually, I wanted to bring up to you guys, pardon me for taking over host position, but what are you doing in terms of shorts?
We're not.
At all?
Nope.
Dan, you want
A
to?
lot-
I
I
know
feel like
Dan,
so
you're
much
doing
of-
shorts.
So much of what we do is very different than everyone. Like everything we do, from our organic reach, our shorts, our thumbnails, like there's so much that's different, as well as like us being different people in not only 2 different towns, but 2 different markets. We also have 2 different audiences, however, the same umbrella audience. So we're just really different, and we're kind of the first one that we know of to do this. So we're kind of like trial and error as we go and learn, but we've decided to not do anything with shorts at this time.
So I have been utilizing shorts, and essentially what I'll do is I'll film my entire YouTube video, the raw film, and it's usually somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes or whatever. And when I'm done recording that, I'll record a new video. I'll usually, if I'm in my office, I'll just kind of back up a little bit, and I'll essentially just make a shorts version of that same video. So if the video is like 5 reasons why San Diego is awesome, I'll probably pull one of those. I'll do a new hook just for short form content that's a little bit shorter and grabbier, I guess. And then I'll just off the top of my head, because I just spoke about that video topic for 20 minutes, I can usually crank out a short form version of it in like 1 to 2 minutes. So that's usually what I'll do. I recommend at the very least, just film a new hook. And then maybe if you want to just pull footage from what you already filmed, like re-record a new hook and then tell your editor what part of that video to grab something out of. And then the one thing I would highly, highly recommend is if you are utilizing a videographer and you are spending an entire day filming with them, come up with 3, maybe even 4 short form video ideas. So like if I'm doing a video on, you know, Carlsbad, like I'm showing people the city of Carlsbad, I'll probably do a short form video on like how much homes cost in Carlsbad, and maybe one of the reasons I like Carlsbad, and you know, what you can expect to live on the water. And like I'll come up with 3 or 4 video, like really short 30-second video ideas that I can film throughout the day. And my videographer will literally turn his camera vertically to record it that way. And so when I get all the raw footage to send over to my editor, it's very easy for me to see like which files need to go to the short form editor and which files need to go to the long form editor.
So you're not cutting up your stuff really. You're doing native short form stuff just at the same time that you're doing the long form.
Yeah, that's
for the most part.
And again, I've fallen off probably the last like month. I've kind of fallen off on this a little bit, but yeah, that was what works the best. Those are the videos that perform the best. And yeah, although like the local stuff, the coming soon stuff works really, really well, especially on TikTok, and the real estate stuff works really well. So yeah, I see no reason not to.
Trey, are you putting any of your short form content onto shorts? Because I know you're doing a lot of it on TikTok and Instagram.
So shorts feed for YouTube is the #1 driver for us for subs. It's crazy. I mean, just in the past 2 months. So with every long form video we do, JP pulls about 2 shorts from the long form at least. And the only change is he will make if you go to shorts, they're doing really well, but it's mainly YouTube that will put it in front of people that have any searchability to San Antonio. So it's been really good. Even go to the left, like I think I record right there in the car. So it was just, we were just driving and I was like, hey man, turn your camera. Let's just do 3 shorts driving about what that is. And you know, the views don't matter, but it's just the relevant information of like the point of view of hanging out with a realtor, talking about areas. That did really well. So we'll probably do more of that.
Well,
but
and I mean, like you say the view, you don't care about the views, but I'm like 19K, 14K,
92.
18K, right? Like on those, when the others, I mean, 92,000, yeah, that's a ton, but like on the others, they have, you know, 2,500, which is still awesome, right? But like these have significantly more views of
Here's
people
what
listening
I
to you
see
ramble, you know?
that you both do very well with this, and what I think people miss with doing shorts, because so again, we are on social media every single day, and we're like, we want to produce what we see. And I think people get stuck in wanting to put, like, if you're putting the same short or reel on Instagram, that's like this funny like entertaining thing, that you're dropping it onto YouTube, like thinking that it's just a short and it's entertaining, but it has nothing to do with your channel, or it's just slightly off. You're not going to convert that person to watch your long form. Like what both Trey and Dan do is they're almost like mini hooks to lead them over to watch the long form. And they're still sticking with the topics and the subject of the overall channel, instead of just, you know, so many people say,
dumping
oh, I'm going
ground.
to produce, yeah,
Like
one
just a
piece of
dumping ground,
content,
yeah.
and I'm going to put it out there for everyone. Well, not, you don't have the same audience on every platform.
Yeah.
Different platforms want different things. And I mean, different platforms, not even what they want, because people are always trying to just hack this algorithm thing, but it's just a different audience. You know,
If
you
YouTube has to show a different audience your shorts, and a totally different audience your long form, they're not going to show them anything.
Yep.
In my experience.
100%.
All right. Trey, did you have anything else that you wanted the group to cover? Host Trey?
No, that was it. That's just one piece of contribution that I had as a host, co-host.
Well, thank you. Yeah, don't just fully take the position away from me, sir.
I'll throw something out there. The last minute addition, if that's okay.
I guess.
I've been using ChatGPT, guys, and not necessarily to write scripts word for word, but like when I have my time set aside to like come up with video ideas and come up with titles and come up with thumbnails and start outlining the script and start researching the script, literally all those things can be done with ChatGPT. Some topics better than others, but do not. Well, I would just recommend everyone like just start messing with it. Start having conversations with ChatGPT, and it can literally save you 40 to 50% of your time sometime on research. So I'm seeing a lot of success with it right now, not necessarily to give me new ideas, but just to make my ideas better and help me research what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I like using it for the outline, right? And then I put in my thoughts and opinions on what ChatGPT says, or the top 5, whatever, or the top 3, so and so. So
yeah,
Yeah,
whenever you start to have like a brain fart, or just like you have a hard time getting going, it really starts to get the juices going, which is nice.
All right, cool, y'all. Well, thank you so much for your time. Very much appreciated. And I'll see y'all later.
Bye.